Well, this definitely qualifies as the largest order that I've made since living over here. Well, no, I guess Leviathans beats it out. But anyway, big box arrived today, coming from Noble Knight Games during their massive fall sale, which enabled me to get games that I've been thinking about since 1988, when I got to play them for the first and only time. It's arrived today. Here it is. Let's open it up and take a look at Renegade Legion. I was really kind of curious how Noble Knight would ship these boxed games to me, and I guess the answer should have been obvious. Styrofoam peanuts. On top is the Renegade Legion RPG, which was called Legionnaire, and this is listed as being in very good plus condition. So with a soft cover book, that means that you're going to see wear around the corners. You're going to see wear along the spine, but it shouldn't be, it shouldn't be ugly or in bad condition. And this looks like a well-loved but well-treated game. Okay, we'll open it up in a minute. The next item. Oh, it's too big. I'm not sure how easy it will be able to see, to be seen on camera, but it's a box within a box. So it's a well-taped up, large box containing the box set games inside all these styrofoam peanuts with the RPG sitting on top. So I'm going to have to get rid of all the peanuts before I can get that out of there. So here we have revealed the box within a box. And for those of you who are familiar with Noble Knight and my unboxings from them, there's no need to worry. The wrapping paper is still here. I was getting a little worried. So these three war games and this role-playing game are going to form the foundation of my exploration into this very old game, Renegade Legion. And I'll share that journey with you. So we begin with Interceptor, which basically has you, it provides you with 38 fighters and corvettes, and asteroids, and a 10-sided die. And you're playing out a civil war, a struggle between the Renegade Legions and the Terran Overlord government. And that's backed up by Leviathan, which has 25 playing pieces, maps, and deals with these giant kilometer-long ships. And then this is an operations-level invasion scenario. And it has the rules for incorporating invasions with Interceptor and Leviathans, but it's specifically about a particular planet, but allows you to, or sets you up to do this more often with other planets. And the role-playing game is what you'd expect, much like MechWarrior did. It allows you to play in the universe. How well it does it remains to be seen. Now, the rules I don't have here are the tank level rules, the armored command. I can't remember what they're called. If I enjoy these well enough, I may expand in that direction. Although, really, my interest lies with the ships and the invasion phase. I remember this game well enough to know that I really enjoyed it at the time, and I have been thinking about it, literally thinking about it off and on, since '88, the last time I played it. And I've never found another person who owned it, and Noble Knight had a large supply of them. Possibly because the game isn't any good, but I still have hope. Despite appearances, I'm prone to optimism. So I've just taken the shrink wrap off Interceptor, and I'm looking inside the first time since the 80s. So let's see what's inside. So we have a note from FASA, the Age of Legend, their catalog. That's interesting. Then we have the rules. Construction worksheets. Oh, how much fun we had in the 80s, right? This is what I remember most. The way the game is played, damage affects different systems inside the ship. I mean, I used to get a real thrill out of this. And here are the counters. Here's the D10. And then hex maps. Is anything else down in there? Ads. Right on. One of the things which made Interceptors so cool was that damage was applied in, say, amounts of boxes, such as 8 points, and that the damage was applied depending on the weapon in a specific shape. So a mass driver cannon, that's what I'm pointing at here, delivered damage to armor in this shape. And if by the combination of these different damage shapes, sections of armor could be cut away from the enemy ship, meaning you didn't have to actually eliminate every single box of armor on an enemy in order to achieve some kind of good effect, like a critical hit or destruction. It really communicated a sense of doing realistic damage. You can see better what I'm talking about here in the rulebook, where they're talking about widowed armor. Because of damage effects, this section of armor has been cut away completely. Now, in the version of Interceptor that I played in college, the fighters were 3D boxes, which was kind of cool, and I was really looking forward to seeing those boxes again. But apparently in this edition they've been replaced by flat counters, which of course is easier to pack and makes my life here easier. But, you know, that's a little bit of a sting. Like any great old FASA product, you get all kinds of very cool detail, game detail, and universe detail, talking about the weapons of war that you're using, right? Say fighter to any Tog citizen and the image of the spiculum automatically comes, or the pilum or flying wing is a classic fighter. You know, all of this in-universe detail that makes the game just come to life rather than a bunch of empty stats. The game is played in 2 dimensions, but does try to take in the reality of combat in space somewhat through momentum, safe operating thrusts, being out of control, and that sort of thing. Angles of attack modifiers, the firing arcs, all these things are very familiar to Battletech players and make Interceptor very easy and quick to learn and play. Really loved the art. Not all the art, but you know. This is the kind of experience that I look for. Air Wars, Aerotech, Interceptor, they all captured the sense of these impossible dogfights in space in these fantastic looking ships with incredible armaments, and I'm looking forward to being able to rediscover that. More shrink wrap, and it's opening up Leviathan. Now, I've always been very, very fond of capital ships, dreadnoughts. So, let's see what we get. Another catalog from spring of 1993. A red D10. Okay. Renegade Legion. Battleships, dreadnoughts. What are we going to find inside? Ship construction. One of the great things about FASA is they let you build your own toys. Here's a Tog cruiser, 2.5 or 2 kilometers long. Tog frigate, 1.25. The Shiva, 2.75. These are big ships. This was a time of big things in space. Going back inside, we have the record sheets for the different ships. Lots and lots of records. And then the counters. Oh, including asteroids and whatnot. And then down to the very large hex maps. Followed up with ads. Nice. Maps are paper. Counters are glossy and slick. Easy to punch. And I am very much looking forward to making this game fly. Looking inside Leviathan for a moment, we see also the same 2D counters. Long counters for the battleships. And cluster counters for the fighter wings. There are missile salvos and debris and other elements that you might encounter in a large battle. One of the big complaints about Leviathan was that the use of missiles was perceived as being unbalanced, and we'll see if that's true once I start playing the game. But like the rest of the games in the universe, we still deal with the same kind of combat. Weapons with specific types of damage versus armor in specific shapes, leading to a flowchart of damage to determine critical effects and the results of combat. The movement pace in Leviathan is slower than in Interceptor, obviously. The two games can be linked together, giving you this ability to zoom in, and this is something that we will see mirrored in BattleTech once we started looking at Total Warfare, which through the tactical operations and strategic operations is heading in the same direction. Now, at this point in time, I doubt we'll ever see interstellar operations, but, you know, a fellow can live in hope, but that's neither here nor Renegade Legion. One thing is for certain, this game really embodies the whole aesthetic of the gigantic ships ponderously moving toward each other for complete destruction, launching wave after wave of destructive weaponry and material in an all-out war in the cold depths of space. I mean, how 90s, late 80s is that? Probably my best and favorite part of any FASA game is construction of the weapons of war included. Battle mechs and Battletech, Aerotech fighters and Battletech, and of course these giant ships and the interceptors. It's this kind of thing, I feel, which so easily gets people involved in the background of whatever game it is. The ease of investing in the universe and getting involved in what these struggles are all about is so much easier when you're actually inspired to build and create your own war machines and test them against your friends. If you can't go to war against your friends, who can you go to war with? And the shrink wrap is off Prefect, which is the planetary invasion, more board game style. Now, I didn't get to play this. This will be my first time looking inside. I have read that there are... yellow. I have read that there are some issues with one edition of the game's counters. So that's really what I'm looking for first. The operational briefing, the rule book, scenarios. That looks interesting. The sequence of play. Okay. This is a game with 2 maps, the ground map and the space map. Now here are the counters. And it looks like these counters are fine, which is good. We'll just check all the sheets just to be sure. But I believe that all of the games that I've gotten for Renegade Legion are the later printing from '93, not the initial releases from, whenever. Some of the counters are a little close to the edge, but yeah, these ones are right on the edge. Not all of the F in fatigue is going to work, but most of them are fine. And then all of these counters are fine. Oh, that brings back memories. This is the '92 catalog, so I guess this is not the '93 print. One would assume this was '91. And look, ads. But just a quick look through the rulebook. Well, that's pretty obvious when it was published. Now, one of the things that made up my mind about including this in my purchase was the integration using Leviathan. And Leviathan itself can be integrated with Interceptor, and I do like to get into complicated battles from time to time, especially when I'm really in that wargaming mood. So, being able to, with Prefect, set up the ground assault and the, let's call it the space assault, at the same time, and run those, and then get into specific exchanges, let's say, using Interceptor or Renegade Legion, that appeals to me. So there's a very strong FASA look to all of this, not only with the, the landscape profile of the book, but also this very distinct layout and design. All right. I'm looking forward to seeing how this actually works in play. What you're looking at here is the '93 catalog, which came in the box for Interceptor. So I have managed to find this new copy of Interceptor, a copy of Leviathan, and a copy of Prefect. Still looking for Centurion. And in terms of other support material that was out there, was Legionnaire, the role-playing game, which we'll look at in a minute. Then there is this game, which we'll just ignore. Source book for the, let's say, the region of space. And then there were collected vehicle briefings in that very FASA style. Now, there's also one for Leviathans, for the ships of the line, which I don't have and I haven't seen. There are also a whole series of modules, and all of this stuff is still out there available in pretty good shape. Having this kind of stuff appeals to me, the technical readouts and whatnot, the vehicle briefings, as they were called. The game also included rules for role-playing. All of this probably seems very much like BattleTech and MechWarrior, and I think it should. Now, this is a FASA, early FASA role-playing game. It is gritty like you'd expect, and it has a lot of familiar concepts for early Shadowrun players or MechWarrior players. As you flip through, there's a lot of gear, there's a lot of background, there's a lot of color about the world and the politics, and lots of story detail. And what this is supposed to let you do is design characters from one of 3 factions to, adventure in the world. FASA had different degrees of success with this. MechWarrior was too much about MechWarrior, and MechWarrior 2 was not enough, and on we go. And when you've got worlds this complex and detailed, how exactly do you approach it in a role-playing game? Well, we'll see later on if Legionnaire lives up to it, but just a little bit that I've read since I got it yesterday has me really interested in trying it out and seeing how surprisingly modern this system might actually be. Legionnaire. So expect a little more of this in the months to come.